welcome to another edition of the Sewing Guru. Now in this video I'm going to show you how to measure to get your measurements ready for your waistcoat. And once you've got those measurements, you're then armed with the knowledge to know how much fabric that you're going to need and the kind of pattern that you're going to need as well. So first of all, what you need for this particular exercise is of course a pen and a tape measure. Now the tape measures that I use have centimetres on one side and inches on the other. Now it's entirely up to you which imperial or metric that you're going to use for measuring your waistcoat. You can either use centimetres or inches for this, okay? And also what you need to do is print off these measurement sheets. Now there are two of them. You've got the measurement sheet for the body, okay, and you've also got another measurement sheet here which is a garment measurement sheet. Now these can be found on the same page as where you're watching this video, and they're in a PDF format, so you can just print them off, and when you've done that you're ready to go. Now first of all, I'm just going to tell you that the measurements are only for the top part of the body, okay? Because of course we are making a waistcoat which is for the top part of the body. So the bottom part, which is for trousers and things like that, we're not going to need. So what I would do is I'm going to take the waistcoat off here, okay? Because you're going to be measuring the body of the person, or for yourself, of what the waistcoat's going to be. So I would get the person to wear a shirt, or wear a shirt yourself, and measure over that shirt, because that is where the waistcoat is going to sit. It's going to sit over the top of a shirt. So first of all, we're going to be working with the number 2, which is back, neck to waist measurement. Okay, so it's number 2 on your body measurement sheet. Now, so we'll just turn this around. I'm going to show you where measurement number 2 is. So it's back, neck to waist. So we're going from the neck, okay, so the top, so where the top of the neck is, here, down to the back waist, so where the waist is on the person or on yourself, okay? Measure that and note down your measurement in space number 2. The next measurement we're going for is the chest, which is measurement number 4, which is the chest. So we're going underneath the arms and we're going around the chest. Okay, like that. So we're going towards, just, this here is the chest, and we're going for the upper chest part, okay? So the largest part around the chest here, and that's where we're measuring, okay? Now when you measure these measurements, okay, don't measure it really tight to the body, okay? Make sure that you can get a couple of fingers in there, because you're going to need movement on the garment. If it's really tight to the body, there's going to be no movement at all, and it's going to be way too tight, and your waistcoat's not going to fit. So you need this bit of movement here. So make sure you can put 2 fingers in between the tape measure where you've got movement, okay? And that is the chest measurement for number 4, okay? Then we've got number 5, which is slightly further down, which is the stomach. Okay, now of course certain people have a bit more of a belly, so you're going to go over the top part or the largest part of where the stomach is. Okay, and again make sure you've got these movement lines in here, okay, a bit of movement with the tape measure. Make sure you get a couple of fingers in between the tape measure, and again you're going to need movement there, otherwise it will become too tight. So again, you need to get that measurement and you then mark it down on number 5 on the sheet. Now the next one is the waist. Now again you can measure the waist on here, but of course the waistcoat will just sit nicely on there, okay, and you've got this slight curve. So the waist is actually not your true waist measurement, because if you were going to make a waist measurement for, say, a pair of trousers, you're getting the real true waist measurement so that it's nice and snug to the waist, okay. Now on here, again, you need your movement lines in there, okay, so be able to get a couple of fingers in between for your movement, okay. So measure that around the waist here, right round the whole body, round the back as well, and note that down on waist. Now if you're going to have a longer waistcoat and it's going to go over the top of the hips, okay, get that measurement as well. But you don't really need that, because of course a waistcoat sits just below the waistline on the body, okay. But you can get that, and again, the waist is the largest part, or the hips, sorry, are the largest part of the body around here, okay. So again, with your movement in there, you get a couple of fingers in and you've got movement there, okay. So that is the hips, which is number 7 on your sheet. Now we've done most of the body around here. Now we're going to be measuring the actual waist, the front length of the body. So the next measurement is the front waist length, okay, which is number 8 on your sheet. So the front waist goes from the shoulder point here. So you're taking it from the shoulder point, right there, over the top of the largest part of the chest, okay. So if it was for a lady, it would be over the top of the bust, okay. For a guy, again, where the bust would be, okay, so over the top part, and then straight down to where the waist is, okay, so where your waist is here, and note down that measurement, okay. Now we don't need the arm length, because of course a waistcoat doesn't have sleeves in it, so we don't need that. The next one is the shoulder length, okay, which is number 11 on your sheet. Now the shoulder length is important because of course this waistcoat has got the shoulder seams here. So again, we're going from the shoulder point here to the edge of the shoulder. So we're going from the neck right along to the actual shoulder point, okay. So that is the length of the shoulder point, and you're going to mark that down onto number 11. Now the next measurement we need is the back, which is going to be both shoulders. So from the point where you measured 2 on the shoulder length measurement, which is number 11, this one is number 12, and we're going across the whole part. So from the shoulder end point right across the back of the neck all the way to the other shoulder end point here, okay. So we're getting both shoulders and the whole lot, okay, and mark that down into number 12. Number 13 is the back width, okay, and of course that is around about from here, okay, where your arm starts from. So okay, so just, I would just say underneath, start from where your armpit is, okay, and we're going across the entire back width of the person, okay, so that's about there, so across here, okay, and we're going to mark that in number 13, okay. So that is all of the body measurements now complete, okay. You've got all of your body measurements, and the next part is of course our garment measurements. Now that's where this sheet comes into play. So I am going to now show you how to do the garment measurements. Now first of all, what we need to do is we need to draw our waistcoat. So that's the second part, what I'm going to show you right now. Okay, so here we are with our garment measurement sheet, and we're also got here places for our waistcoat design. Now of course you can put the name and the date on here. We've got here a place for our fabric samples. Now with me, I've already bought my fabric, so what I can do is just stick the fabric sample on there, and then we can write down the description for our fabric sample. So in my case it would be a wool suiting. Okay, so we put that in there. Now the centre back length we will do in a moment, and the front length we're also going to do in a moment as well. Now the buttons on the front of the waistcoat is entirely up to you. Now you're looking at about between 4 and 6 buttons on a waistcoat, so you can put down here how many buttons you want to go in there. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to have on mine, say, 4 buttons. And of course in here you've got notes, so you can note down various bits and pieces, what sort of pockets that you might have and all that sort of thing. But first of all, what we're going to do is we're going to just design our waistcoat. So the main block of the waistcoat is already drawn. Okay, we can just draw the waistcoat. Now of course with a waistcoat it comes down like this. Now you can have any design that you like, okay, it's entirely up to you what you have, okay, and of course ours has got a lapel on there, okay. Now the lapel, you can have a shawl collar, which of course is a complete straight lapel, or we can have a notched collar, which of course goes like this, with a notch design, okay, like that. Okay, so that is our waistcoat design on there with the lapel on here, and of course we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4 buttons. I'm going to have some pockets there, okay, and of course along here we have a dart. Okay, and of course this is for fitting the dart. Now on here, this is going to be the back, so we can just quickly now draw the back of our waistcoat in. Now, again, we've got a couple of darts which go up like that. And we have our decorative belt on here, okay, which goes like this. Okay, so that's the little clasp in there. Okay, and of course with the waistcoat you're going to have a centre back seam. So when you've done that and you designed your waistcoat, what we need to do now is get the measurements for our centre back length and our front length, okay, and we can mark those on here. So our centre back would be there, and our front length would be from this point here down the waistcoat to the bottom part of the V at here. Okay, so we're going from the shoulder point all the way along to the bottom point of our V there, and you're measuring that on the waistcoat. Now I've got a waistcoat already made up on the mannequin, and I'm going to show you exactly where those measurement points are. Okay, so here we are with the mannequin. It's got the waistcoat on. This for the final 2 measurements. Now the first measurement what we need is the front garment length, okay? So that was the one on our design which runs along here, okay? So that's the measurement that we're going to be putting in right now. Now what you're doing is you're measuring from the shoulder point at the neck, going over the top of the largest part of the bust, okay, or the chest, right along to the point here, okay, because waistcoats have a point at the bottom, so that's where we're going to, okay. So that's that measurement. Note that in your measurement sheet for the garment. And the final measurement, which of course is a garment measurement as well, is the back. So we're going from the back of the neck here at the top all the way down to the length that you want your waistcoat to be. Of course it's the same with the front, down to the points, so there is no right or wrong way. This is down to your discretion of the design and the length that you want your waistcoat to be. Okay, so we're going from the neck to the bottom length or the total bottom hem of the waistcoat. And we're going to mark that in on our garment measurement sheet. Now, as you can see, I've filled in a few more things. I put my two fabrics on here. So I've got my main fabric and I've got my lining. I've put down what the lining is, and I've also put a few notes like pockets. It's got a back lining, it's got 4 front buttons, and it's also got a decorative belt with a clasp. Okay, so I've marked all that in there. And now I'm ready, and I've got my information that I need for my waistcoat. Now this is the point now, because you've got all your measurements for you or whoever you're making the waistcoat for. You've got all of those in place, so now you can go out and buy the fabric that you need and also the pattern. Now get the pattern that you like the design of. Okay, so if you like the design, buy that pattern and buy it the closest to your measurements. Okay, now all of the measurements are marked on the pattern. Okay, so you'll see the chest and the waist, and all of those measurements are marked on the pattern. You can ask for help in the shop if you're not too sure, but you are armed now with the measurements on your measurement sheets. So you can go out, get your pattern, get your fabric. You need lining and you need interfacing. Now for me, I'm just standard build, and I got 1.5 meters of fabric. I bought 1 meter of lining. Now these are all 60 inches wide. Okay, now you can get fabrics which is suitings which is 60 wide, or if you get a silk, it's usually a 45 wide. So obviously if it's lesser width, the 45, you're going to need a longer amount, so you're going to need more. Okay, so you know, always add on the amount that you're going to need corresponding to the width of your fabric. So I got 1.5 meters of my actual fabric, 1 meter of lining, and also I got about 1.5 meters of interfacing. Now with interfacing, buy more, because you can always use it for other things as well. Because with the interfacing, we're going to be using it for the facings, and we're going to be using it for the pockets, okay, and also the entire front panels as well. You can buy the buttons, which will then correspond to your fabric, so you can get those, and of course don't forget your thread. Buy the same colour thread obviously as your waistcoat, and get your fabric to match the lining, or the lining to match the fabric, whichever way. Okay, so the whole thing looks really nice, because as you can see on here, we've got a grey waistcoat with a grey lining. Okay, and of course you need your clasp. Okay, now small clasp at the back is just a standard waistcoat clasp. Okay, now they should be available in a haberdashery shop. If you can't find one, a good tip is to go to a shop where they sell second-hand clothes. Buy a really cheap second-hand waistcoat, because all you need is the clasp. Okay, so that's a little small tip that I can give you. You know, if you can't find the clasp in the haberdashery shop, go to a second-hand shop and buy a garment with the clasp on. Okay, so basically that's it. That is the measuring now complete, and we're now ready to go on to the next video for the next stage of your waistcoat.